Work values. Definition. Values define in organizational behavior as the collective conception of what is considered good, desirable, and proper, or bad, undesirable, and improper in a culture. Work values or culture. What is work culture? Work culture is a concept which deals in the study of belief, thought processes, attitudes of the employees, ideologies, and principles of the organization. Work culture is a combination of qualities in an organization and its employees that arise from what is generally regarded as appropriate ways to think and act. Characteristics of a healthy work culture. A healthy work culture leads to satisfied employees and an increased productivity. 1. Employees must be cordial with each other. One must respect his fellow worker. Backbiting is considered strictly unprofessional and must be avoided for a healthy work culture. One gains nothing out of conflicts and nasty politics at work. 2. Each employee should be treated as one. Partiality leads to demotivated employees and eventually an unhealthy work culture. Employees should be judged only by their work and nothing else. Personal relationships should take a back seat at the workplace. Don't favor anyone just because he is your relative. 3. Appreciating the top performers is important. Praise the employees to expect good work from them every time. Give them a pat on their back. Let them feel indispensable for their organization. Don't criticize the ones who have not performed well. Instead, ask them to pull up their socks for the next time. Give them one more opportunity rather than firing them immediately. 4. Encourage discussions at the workplace. Employees must discuss issues among themselves to reach to better conclusions. Each one should have the liberty to express his views. The team leaders and managers must interact with the subordinates frequently. Transparency is essential at all levels for better relationships among employees and a healthy work culture. Manipulating information and data tampering is a strict no-no at the workplace. Let information flow in its desired form. 5. Organization must have employee-friendly policies and practical guidelines. Expecting an employee to work till late night on his birthday is simply impractical. Rules and regulations should be made to benefit the employees. Employees must maintain the decorum of the organization. Discipline is important at the workplace. 6. The Hitler approach does not fit in the current scenario. Bosses should be more like mentors to the employees. The team leaders should be a source of inspiration for the subordinates. The superiors are expected to provide a sense of direction to the employees and guide them whenever needed. The team members should have an easy access to their boss's cabin. 7. Promote team building activities to bind the employees together. Conduct training programs, workshops, seminars, and presentations to upgrade the existing skills of the employees. Prepare them for the tough times. They should be ready under any odd circumstance or change in the work culture.
Okay, now I will explain about Indonesian work culture. First, what is business culture? Business culture can be defined as a set of beliefs, ethics, and attitudes within a business setting. Culture is a main constituent in business and has an influence on the premeditated course of business. Culture impacts the administration, decisions, and all business functions from secretarial to manufacturing to production. And every country, of course, has their own business culture. And now I will explain you all about work environment in a typical Indonesian workplace. First is addressing superiors. The Indonesians know about the importance of their superiors and are used to addressing them by suitable titles. In Indonesia, you must have to call them by Bapak, which means sir, or Ibu, which means ma'am. No one can call them by their first name until and unless they are allowed to do so. Next, making the leaders happy. There is an environment of making the leaders happy in an Indonesian workplace. Generally, the assistant employees obey their seniors or boss and don't question them. The assistant or subordinate employees never talk back if their seniors give orders for any type of work because they only want to make their leaders happy. Next, avoiding clashes. The employers in Indonesia try their best to avoid any kind of clashes. There is an environment of peace in an Indonesian workplace. Next, friendship between co-workers. There is an environment of peace and friendship in an Indonesian workplace. The co-workers don't hesitate to ask personal questions, and in this way, an environment of friendship goes on. Next, personal criticisms. There is an environment of private criticism in an Indonesian workplace. People there prefer to keep criticism private rather than discuss it in public. In this way, this culture does much to protect the pride of the employers. Next, greeting the most superior first. In Indonesia, as a subordinate employer, it is essential to know about superiors of the company. Greeting the most senior first isn't as good conduct. Next, giving handshakes. In Indonesia, seniors are given handshakes first. To the staff varies from company to company. Giving handshakes with little pressure is common in Indonesia. Next, being professional at all times. During working hours, employees must be professional regardless of the situation. They are to be helpful, friendly, and good team members, and they are advised to avoid gossiping to avoid any sort of trouble. Next, arriving on time. It is highly appreciated to arrive on the workplace on time or earlier. And last, showing gratitude. Indonesian employees try to be helpful and friendly and understand each other, and saying thank you after receiving help from a colleague is seen to be good manners because it shows gratitude. And then I will explain about typical work schedule in Indonesia. First, normal working hours. In Indonesia, working hours are usually from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. But in here they used to say WIB or West Indonesia time. These hours apply to all employees including private and civil employees. Saturday and Sunday typically are off days, thus the work week usually lasts 5 working days from Monday to Friday. Next, shift 1 working hours. There is a difference between normal working hours and shift 1 working hours. Generally, these working hours are applied to those corporations which have very intense operational hours as well as civil service agencies. The following are some businesses and entities which use shift working hours. There are hospitals, automotive factories, food factories, electronics factories, and hotels. Next, shift 2 working hours. These working hours are used when the working hours of shift 1 are completed. They generally last from 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Businesses using shift 1 working hours also use shift 2 working hours. Next, shift 3 working hours. Shift 3 working hours last from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., though this may vary from company to company. Next, working hours 3, group 3 shift. Workers work from Monday to Saturday. On Saturday, there are 5 working hours, and on the rest of the days, from Monday to Friday, there are 7 working hours per day with a 1-hour break. There are a total of 40 working hours per week. Next, non-shift working hours. This type of shift is similar to those of the normal working hours. These hours are reserved for business which need more coordination during working hours. Next, working hours for 12 hours. When there is bulk work in any company, then the usual working period is more than 8 hours. This extra period is sometimes known long shifts. In many agreements between the company and the employees, the working hours are required to be 12 hours per day with 1 or 2 days off.
Work value in America. Americans can be very focused on their work. Sometimes people from other cultures think Americans live to work or are workaholics. This means they think Americans work too much. Part of a reason Americans are work-oriented is because being busy and active is often seen as a good thing. People also tend to identify strongly with their jobs. For example, when you first meet someone, one of the first questions they might ask you is, "What do you do?" They mean, "What kind of work did you do?" They believe that they are in control of their own success or failure. In the US culture, people hold a very strong sense that they can create their own success through hard work and dedication. This also means that some people in the US will often try to manipulate the natural environment around them to suit their needs. They view time as a commodity. Time is valuable in the US and it should not be wasted. Americans are constantly thinking about how to save, not waste, gain, plan, or fill their time. Some cultures attend an event until it comes to a natural end. Americans attend an event such as meeting until the clock indicates that the meeting is over and they move on to do the next thing. They value equality and fairness. The US is a society that does not recognize hierarchies as much as other countries. If you are a member of the upper class in your home country and you visit the US, you will most likely be spoken to just like everyone else by waiters in the restaurant, taxi drivers, or hotel staff. Fairness is a core value that is very important to many American people. They want to be unique, different, and individual. Americans believe that it is important to be unique and stand out from the group. Having a unique idea or doing things differently is praised. Conformity is looked down upon. Because Americans value individualism, they also value their privacy. At your workplace, you may view your American colleagues as cold when they do not invite you for a coffee or out on the weekends. In reality, they might be respecting your privacy, something they consider extremely important. They are competitive. With the free market system, there is intense competition in every aspect of American life, including education, athletics, business, art, and even hobbies. It is relatively easy to start a business as an entrepreneur in the United States. With the internet today, the barriers to entry have been lowered, and this has only increased competition as anyone with an idea can compete with large corporations. They like to take action. In the United States, taking any action is seen as better than doing nothing. Because American value action, the American society has become very oriented toward work. A typical work week in many professions goes beyond 40 hours. Many professionals became workaholics and identify themselves based on their career or the company they are work for. They are casual and informal. In the workplace, many bosses or managers like to be addressed by their first name. However, you should wait until you are invited to do that. The informality that is so common in American culture is probably related to their sense of equality, fairness, and belief in treating everyone the same way. Americans are also quite informal in the way they dress. They are direct. While some cultures will avoid telling you exactly what they think in order to save face, in the United States, many Americans believe that it is important to offer an honest opinion and to communicate your point directly and openly.
There are several types of work values in Japan. First, let's start with Ganbaru, Gaman, and Konjo. This can be translated as persistence, endurance, and willpower. Japan's isolated and inhospitable landscapes have over time resulted in these qualities being seen as essential to life. In Japanese culture, one must strive, make effort, and overcome. It is these values perhaps that drive much of the innovation that comes out of Japan in sectors such as robotics, software, and IT. Japanese society stresses collective achievement, which holds that anything is possible when everyone pulls together with shared visions and works as a group. The second is shogunai, another value that has its roots in the sometimes brutal experience the Japanese have faced at the hands of natural and man-made disasters is that of shogunai. Shogunai can roughly be translated as "it can't be helped." It is an acceptance of fate and that sometimes things are just out of your control. The Japanese mentality, therefore, is that when something is or appears to be out of your control, then you must accept it and move on. In some ways contradictory to the values of persistence and endurance, however, shogunai is more a belief that in life there are greater powers at work. Rather than complaining about things out of your control, you should channel your energies elsewhere. The third is motanai. Our next value is motainai, which means something along the lines of what a waste. Again, closely tied to the Japanese experience of living on an island with limited resources, the Japanese feel regret towards waste of any kind. It expresses guilt when wasting something considered worthy. This might be wasted food, wasted time, or a piano that hasn't been played in a long time. All are motainai. The fourth is wa. These values are perhaps the most important in understanding the Japanese culture. Both are interrelated and dependent upon one another, but for the sake of simplicity, let's start with wa, which means harmony. Harmony was essential for the Japanese throughout history as a way of maintaining stability. The teaching of Buddhism and Shinto beliefs also came together to stress peaceful unity with others. At its core, Wa dictates that the harmony and needs of society take priority over personal opinions or interests. This value heavily influenced much more of the Japanese mindset. The fifth is Honne to Tatame, This is especially so when we consider the next values of Hani to Tatame. Hani can be roughly translated as meaning the truth, in that people say what they really think about something. Tatame, on the other hand, is about what you need to say to maintain face or group harmony, or when you represent a group. Tatame is more about what you say in public as opposed to private. The two can contradict one another. Honey and tatame are often core themes in Japanese TV soaps, films, and novels, showing its central importance in day-to-day life. For foreigners, this behavior can be interpreted negatively, and some cultures might even perceive it as lying or deceitful because people are not saying what they think. However, for the Japanese, it is tightly connected with the need to maintain harmony and see the bigger picture. So, the Japanese values and on doing business, stressing peace and harmony, stability, and the need to sacrifice personal truths and ambitions for the collective good. The Japanese have developed a whole way of thinking, being, and behaving that is geared towards making things happen for the group.
Work value in Thailand. Thai people are incredibly friendly and approachable. Thailand is also known as the land of smiles, and people love to have a fun and comfortable life. They also want to keep a happy environment and avoid arguments and quarrels. Labor code. When accepting a job in Bangkok, one must review the contract to see if there are discrepancies, or there are some terms and conditions that you do not agree with. In the labor code of Thailand, salaries, working hours, and holidays are important. The salary will undoubtedly depend on the job you are applying to, plus, the employer should follow the certain quota of the amount one must receive. For working hours, 8 hours a day and 1 hour break is the normal working hour. Beyond that, one must demand overtime pay. For leaves and holidays, Thailand has a certain number of holidays which the companies must follow. Each year, employees must be granted a minimum of 13-day paid public holidays. If the public holidays falls on a weekend, then it must be moved on the next working holiday. Correspondingly, an employee who has worked at least 1 year must be granted a minimum of 6 days paid annual leave each year. Pregnant women are also granted a minimum of 90 days maternity leave and employees are entitled to pay 45 days of it. Dress code. Appearance plays a significant role in a Thai workplace as Thais are very fashion conscious. The business dress code is quite conservative. For women, they usually wear dresses and skirts rather than pants. For men, they typically wear suits and tie. Also, wearing black can be very minimal as they are only using it when going to funerals. Culture. Being polite and helpful is as important as speaking softly and nicely if you want to build relationships with Thai people inside the office. Usually, when entering the office, you must wait to everyone. To wait is to greet in a way that both hands are in a position of praying and the head is bowed a little. Thais are also very conservative when meeting for the first time, as they don't usually barge you with a question. It's not that they are not friendly, they are just not that open to ask personal questions to strangers to them. Work environment. Thais build harmonious relationship first before directing to business. They are into loving an environment that has a soft touch and easy flow attitude. They also value progress, promotions, and challenges. Support and appreciation are important too. The locals are very eager to learn and be supported. So don't be surprised when one of your colleagues asks you to teach them English. Lastly, hierarchy is present in the office environment. Younger people must wait first and to show respect to the seniors.